I mean, it's cliche, but again, it's not work when you love what you're doing. You know what I mean? Being tired from something. Again, there's like being tired from something is healthy, right? It's when you're going against the grain, the friction of going against what we feel like we shouldn't be doing. That's what's exhausting. That's a different thing. You know what I mean?
True. Yeah, that's a way different thing.
Yeah.
Our potential, it's exponential.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to another podcast of Abundant Souls. Today I have a very special guest, Cameron, with Food Forest Abundance. Thanks for coming on, Cameron.
Thanks, Brother Jack.
Yeah, man. So we were just talking before this, and let's get right into it. Talking about clarity and how important it is to get done what we're trying to get done. So do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, man, we'll see where this conversation goes. First of all, as always, it sounds cliche, but thanks for having me. This is special.
Of course,
I
man.
appreciate the relationship we've started and whatnot. So
thank you, bro.
Yeah, let's roll right into it. So we were talking about clarity and just how powerful.
and food forest abundance. And by the way, guys, Cameron's awesome. He's out here doing what we're doing.
Yep.
In the field, man. Yeah, look.
I don't know if you can see this on the camera, but this is what it's about, growing food.
That's it, man. Yeah, that's what we do every day, man. So tell people about it, like how we have so much vision, right? Like,
yeah.
I could tell when we talk. So like, I guess let people in on that. Like, how important is that to what we're doing out here?
Yeah, the vision in growing food specifically.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, very short story of the backdrop was about a year and a half ago, a little over a year and a half ago, I decided that I was going to grow food for my family. Just with the state of everything going on, I was like, dude, it's just time to like get back to grassroots and what actually matters. And as a man, you want to provide. And I was like, okay, well, you need to put food on the table. So let's start with putting food on the table. You know what I mean? Instead of doing this thing over there and then coming back and buying the food, it's like, why don't we get the actual food? Wow. Right? So that was the aha moment of like, go directly to the source, right? So anyways, I share that because that's really what inspired me to get started on all of this. But just had clarity around what we're doing, right? And then through that process of the last year and a half, there's been so many things that have happened, but I think just understanding when you look at the state of our economy today and what it looks like, the obvious answer and the solution, at least to some degree, to almost everything going on is to grow food. Hands down.
Hands down, man. Yeah, thanks for sharing that too, because I had that aha moment too, like, hey, let's go right to source and actually get the food and put the food on the table. That's amazing, man. And yeah, and maybe we should talk about that, like the economy. You brought that up, like how does that play a part? Because I really do feel like, and you probably agree with me here, what is your take, like that we don't have a lot of independence on where we're getting our sustenance as like an American people, you know?
Yeah. I would say, man, this is where the passion comes out for sure. It's if you look at everything that's going on in the world, I really feel that growing food is a solution or a contributing solution to every single thing. Dude. Period. Deforestation, land preservation, restoration, the lack of local access to food, poisons in the system, the lack of vine ripened food, the lack of seasonal food,
the lack of nutrients out there available,
our dependency on petroleum-based fuels and stuff being picked thousands of miles away to be sent to us, right? Layered in poisons, not vine ripened.
If those aren't enough reasons, man.
Right? Inflation of the dollar. Like when you go to the grocery store, you have to pay for this food based on what somebody is selling it for, because they can sell it for that much, right? But if you start growing food down the street, you're negating inflation. You don't even have to, it's not even a factor. It's not a part of it, right? You talk about world hunger. You talk about wars, which is all over land and fighting, right? Well, if we're all sharing the land and we're sharing the profits of it, there's no wars, right? Because we're not fighting over the land, right? So if you look at the conditions of our world today, the obvious answer is to grow food, is to solve all those things. You can even get into human trafficking. I have a really good friend of mine, I'll keep her name private for the sake of her own thing, but she was talking about a family that was going to sell one of their kids so that they could get money to buy food for the rest of the family. So again, I'm not saying growing food is the solution to all of it, but does it contribute to it? Absolutely, right? So if you look at all the conditions of our world today, growing food is a solution to it, right? But if you removed all of the conditions of our world today and you just looked at what is a healthy human, what is a healthy species, right? From mind, body, and spirit, we already know eating the right food is going to be healthy for the body. And if we look at the body, the mind, and the spirit, then the healthiest thing that we can do for the mind or the spirit is to have the body be at full capacity, right? For that pillar to be as strong as it can be. So that means we need to grow food and we need to eat the right stuff, right? But you talk about the mental aspect of gardening and farming, and you're getting out into the field. Mentally, we have a sense of accomplishment. We have a sense of achievement. You can go out there for an hour or a week, and when you're gardening, you see a transformation. You see that you've made an impact. So we have a sense of contribution, right? And then spiritually speaking, bro, if you go put some food on your table, whether you picked it from your yard or from the grocery store, and you turn this into a meal and you eat it, what's more spiritual than that?
Wow. Yeah, it really
right?
is.
So on every front, whether you look at the conditions of the world or you look at the unconditioned state of the world,
right?
Both sides of it, from a holistic perspective, the most logical, obvious, productive, harmonious, compassionate, loving thing that we can do is grow food.
I love it, man. Thanks for going into all that.
We can shut the mic off right now. This is what the whole thing's about. It's growing food. We're done.
Mic drop. Guys, that's it. Because, yeah, dude, tell them because, yeah, you really hit me with that story about the trafficking and stuff, too. Because, like, the desperation, with people will do anything, you know? And it's like, you see that throughout history and, like, people don't have the food and it, like, that's where it starts. Like, they say all wars, it's all just because of the haves and have-nots. All of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Like so it's so interesting, man. It really is such a powerful solution. And I hope people are listening to this, not tuning it out, because this is big, man. Exactly what you're saying.
You know, maybe I forgot who was talking about this recently, was healthy families don't tend to have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 kids. Like healthy people just don't make that decision. Now I get it. It's not.
What do you mean by that?
Just like if you think about what we refer to as third world countries and stuff like that.
Okay.
Like you typically have families that just are procreating and they're not satisfied. So the species is trying to keep itself alive. What happens when you stress a tree? It starts producing, right? Because it's trying to stay alive,
Make
right?
a bunch of babies.
Right? The innate intelligence is trying to keep itself alive. So if you look at a species that's stressed, they're going to try to procreate and keep themselves alive. So they start having a bunch of kids. And then you have a bigger problem because you already had a lack of food that led to an unhealthy species that's trying to keep itself alive, that's procreating with all these babies.
Well,
a healthy family doesn't do that.
Interesting. Yeah, I've never thought of it like that. What would you say to someone who's like, hey, we're trying to have all these kids so we can go farm the land? Is that I just had this thought. Is that because like they're not doing it right? It should be like running itself.
I don't know. I would say it's a statistic, right? I wouldn't say everybody's like that. Cause I think my wife and I have talked about having a big family, but again, I don't think it comes from a sense of trying to keep ourselves alive. You know what I mean? So I think it's just a one-off. Statistically speaking, how it was shared with me.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting though, right?
Yeah, man. So what are you guys doing? So that's the why, guys. That's the reason we're doing this. So let's talk about because once we have that vision, it's easy. The how becomes obvious.
Yeah.
All right, let's start planting trees. So what are you guys doing at Food Forest Abundance?
Yeah, for sure. So Food Forest Abundance, myself and our team, we're actually a cooperative partner of Food Forest Abundance, and our installation team is Food Forest Everywhere.
Let's go.
So it ran parallel. So shout out to the fellas, dude.
Food Forest Everywhere.
Yeah, Food Forest Everywhere, man. It was to be honest, it was a command. Yeah. It was just very clear about who are we. Yeah, it was a command that we need to grow food everywhere. And you know, what is it? Bill Mollison and Jeff Lawton says it often, that all the world's problems can be solved in a garden, and specifically he means in a food forest, right? So this monocropping and garden stuff that we're doing is just, it's not, every time we lay out the land, all these weeds come, right? Because Mother Earth's trying to heal itself, right? So that's not, when we lay out the land to try to grow in the way that we traditionally farm, Mother Nature's trying to heal itself by growing and using all these weeds, right? And then we spray it back and we cut it back. So when we look to...
So tell people about that, because you're exactly right.
Yeah.
You're saying, so what's the difference between how we typically farm our crops and then like what you're talking about, like a food forest?
Yeah. And it'll tie back into your question prior to that too, about what we're actually doing too. So yeah, monocropping, traditional farming as we know it, at least as this generation knows it, because I'm not going to say it's always been like that. I don't know. I don't question everything we've been taught, right? But if you look at monocropping, you're going in and you're basically saying, like nature wants to be wild. We see it. Like you go to the food forest, like it's just growing wild, right? So when we go out to the land and we try to scrape everything off of it, and we say, no, I only want this one thing to grow right here. right? That's not how Mother Nature grows, right? It wants diversity, right? So
It wants a whole bunch of different.
It wants everything.
stuff.
Yeah, exactly, right? So when we go and we do that, the only way that we can create that environment is we have to spray herbicides, fungicides, pesticides, and rodenticides. And then we have to spray fertilizer because the plant's not getting it from the natural ecosystem. So that's traditional farming, right? Without getting too deep into it. So you come over here to permaculture, into food forests, and to sustainable systems. You are using nature to what it does, right? Again, you always say you look out in the forest, you got the tall trees, the medium trees, the shrubs, the bushes, the stuff on the ground, the stuff in the ground, and the stuff climbing on everything, right? And these are the layers of permaculture, layers of the food forest, right? If you look at that, that's happening naturally without our input. So what we're doing to make this whole thing super simple is we're going in and we're taking the inputs and putting it into the land to where nature will take that and go, cool, we have everything that we need, and bam, it starts creating this sustainable system. That's the simplicity of this whole thing.
Yeah, that's it. Putting the inputs that we're putting into these farms, installing them into the land, into the plants.
And they need a little bit of love in the first couple of years, just like anything that's in its infancy, right? But after that, it takes off on its own.
Let's go.
And that's sustainability.
Yeah. And I love that, man. And guys, by the way, for people who don't know the word inputs, like inputs is like, hey, the fertilizer that we're going to feed these crops.
Good point.
Inputs coming in from the outside. Yeah. And then food forest, like, hey, let's actually like make it all grow together in that system, if that makes sense to everyone out there.
I would say we're growing our fertilizer. We're growing your cover crops. You're growing, you're growing your mulch, right? Like you're growing all this stuff.
You're growing it all on site.
It's all within it. This is some of the videos that I do is like you're chopping and dropping, you're chopping and stuff and you lay it down and it just feeds the soil. So instead of me having to go to the store and bring something and put it in, and then next year I got to do the same thing. I got to keep bringing in the inputs. If we can build the soil and we can do it right, Mother Nature will start doing it on its own.
I love it, man. Yeah. So you guys, so two things. One, like exactly what you're talking about, we're actually trying to make with our veggie gardens. So I think there's a place for both of them. The food forest is important.
For sure.
No doubt. It all lives there, like for sure. But the veggie garden makes a lot of abundance too. And I think that we could grow our inputs on site, right? With veggie gardens, with our compost bins and our chickens. Like that's what we put in our veggie beds.
And even in a middle row, what if we just widened our garden beds and in the middle we have, some comfrey. We can get into, the
those
certain
are
plants.
Those are the fertilizer crops that are filled with those nutrients.
And you can keep them small, you just chop them and you keep feeding them back into the soil. So now your annual veggie garden it's not a food forest, it's becoming permaculture. Right, it's becoming sustainable
with the principles of permaculture.
Yeah, so you're just incorporating those. So just widen the beds a little bit. Let's do the certain species and the plants in the middle to support the system. That's all we're trying to do. We're just trying to support the system, right?
That's it.
But yes, compost.
So no, dude, that was it. That was the first thing. Growing inputs on site, I love it. But number two is like, so you guys are doing those practices at Food Forest Abundance, right?
Yeah.
Because other landscapers aren't doing that. They cut it all, or they get rid of it all, and easy.
Haul it out.
Yeah, haul it out.
Petroleum fuel, vehicles.
Dude, it's serious.
Time, travel.
So you guys are doing these better practices in your landscapes.
Yeah. So again, our Food Forest Everywhere is our installation team. We go into the land, we take a design, and we install it, right? But Food Forest Abundance is basically a global cooperative that's promoting permaculture design, right? Gotcha. So I'll just jump to the question. People will say, what's the best thing that I could do right now? Number 1A is put something in the ground and just watch it, right? Be with it, right? Like watch how magical it actually is to grow something. Again, tell me something spiritual, right? But the next best thing would be get a design. So if you wanted to heal your body and you were suffering from something, or you were going through something, or you're trying to learn a new skill or something like that, you're probably going to go to a professional, right? And say, hey, I need some help. I need some design on how I should eat. I need some design on how I should learn this new skill. I need some design on how I should shoot the jump shot, right? How should I throw a football?
How can I do this right?
How do I do it right, right?
Totally.
So that's Food Forest Abundance it's the cooperative of saying, so cool, come in. If you want to apply these practices, if you want to grow food and use sustainable practices and have food security, right, peace of mind, then get a design for your land and we'll design it for you. And then from there, if somebody wants to install it themselves or if they need help, then we bring up the rear and help people with that. So
right on.
Yeah, but again, it's simple, dude. It's just design. Like the best thing you could do is put something in the ground. The second thing you could do is get professional help, which would be a design.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So tell people, I agree, because you have to see where everything's going to go before you get started and just start tilling up land, right?
Yep.
So tell people about that design process. Like, what do you What do you guys do? Do you visit the site? Do you like
For sure.
talk to? Yeah. How does it go down?
Yeah, best would definitely be to see the site up front. And to me, that just makes sense,
Yeah.
right? So we have designers on our team, and then, like I said, we have global designers of people that work in different regions and stuff like that. But go see the site, take the notes. Plain and simple, right? Like, yo, where's this? Where's that? What's it look like? And then obviously some of those notes is not just of the land, but what do the stewards want? Call them stewards, not clients, because they're a steward of their land, right?
I love it.
What do the stewards want with their property?
What do they want?
Yeah. What's the end result? What do they want to achieve? Do they want just the beauty and the aesthetics, or do they want the high production? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Do they want to be passively involved or actively involved? You know what I mean? So we just find out what they want, right?
Or both, right?
Or both, yeah, combination.
Like how much on the spectrum are they?
Yep. And again, annuals and perennials, right? So the food forest, get the perennials going, get that thing going and set, and let it take care of itself. But people, we love our annual crops. Like, why not? You know what I mean? Yeah, they can't survive out in nature anymore. They've kind of been evolved out, if you know what I mean. They can't compete.
Time.
But with some tender love and care, they can be, right? So it's like a combination. So it is a good point. So, but we gather that information, and that's on the site visit. And then it would go to a designer. And then we go through the process. So it's a series of calls, you know, or meet people in person. It's typically calls, and go over it and say, hey, this is what we could do. You like these ideas? Cool. What plants do you want? And then we kind of put it in and we go, cool, this is what we came up with that you kind of like. Do you like it? Okay, let's make some tweaks to it. You got a rough draft, and then you create a final draft. And then again, they can take it and just go install themselves, or we can come in and help them with it.
Cool.
So
how's it been doing it, man? The food forest.
It's great, dude. Pipeline's filling up. People get it. People get that it's time to grow food. People get it that we just can't rely on the systems that are in place right now, period.
People are ready for this, man.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. Every call I have with people, there's just like totally what we're talking about right now.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
People just get it. It's just, again, it goes back to the clarity. I'll just jump in on the clarity. Is a lot of people want this, but they don't know how to do it. They don't know where to start. They don't have the time, right? Or they don't have the money, which, you know, money only speeds up time, right? So you can buy smaller plants. You can build a food forest from a hand of seeds. I've always said that. If you have the right seeds, you can build a food forest.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
that's a couple bucks. Yeah, you don't need us.
Right?
But
A lot of
exactly.
time.
But a lot of time.
A lot of time.
Facts. You'll learn a lot, but it'd take 10 years.
Yeah. But it's possible. That's the point.
I love that message, though. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Totally. But money just pays for time.
Yep.
So you accelerate the process. That's what we do for people who really want to. But you just got me thinking, man, because you're right. People don't even know. This morning, bro, I got to just share this. This amazing lady, Kim. Shout out Kim. She's our client. She's amazing. She like she was like taking videos of the plants and just pumped. We haven't even started yet.
Yeah.
But totally gets it. And just wanted her kid to be around it and just learn about the plants. And she was asking about are the pine needles going to be an issue, like, and just helping her learn about the pH of the soil. Like, no, but it's going to make it a little acidic, but that's okay. But it'll all break down. Like I was teaching her about the breakdown process of like organic matter, and it was like clicking. She was like, "Whoa, I never like people aren't taught this, the creation and how it works, like how stuff breaks down and goes back to the earth. It's like
all of it,
basic human stuff, right? So it's just got me thinking, which is amazing. Like I'm so honored to do what we do, right? Like really for sure. But like they don't teach this stuff in school. Like how do you think that's done on purpose, or like because it's really like none of this nature stuff, like where we come from, is talked about. It's like source, right? It's talked about in school. What do you think about that, bro?
First of all, this is definitely God's work for sure. I definitely feel like I'm like, yo, like we're here to just kind of like, I'm just a part of something. This is the first thing I've been a part of in my life that I was like, if I remove myself, it would keep going. You know what I mean? And most businesses, formality of like business, right? If you stepped out, it doesn't go. This is going to go. People get it. And that's humbling, right?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
This
true.
really is. I feel that too. This is total divine.
Yeah. If I don't do it, somebody else is going to. I can't say if I don't do it, nobody's going to. No, somebody's going to. Yeah, for sure. Because we get it. But whether it's, you know, first of all, I'm going to go back to what you said with the decomposition process and stuff. I'm the super simple guy. Like, dude, put it in the ground and like build the right system that's around it. But like, I don't get into like the pH of this and make sure the measure of this. Like, I'm just not like the whole point is to create a simple process to do this. And I think this is the perfect time to say a sustainable system is a system that will generate more energy over its lifetime than it consumes.
Yeah, it accumulates more,
Exactly, right?
I
so
agree,
we can just
man.
focus on that.
It can be way simpler than people make it, right? Like all that stuff does matter, like fixing problems and, you know, it's good to tune into all that.
Yeah.
But you're exactly right. Like, it needs to be simple for people.
Yeah, I think that our world has just become so enamored with information. Like, we're living in an information age where like the mind can't relax without with like this unknown piece of information. Like, we have to know everything, and we're addicted to it, which is actually kind of cool. A little bit of a side topic, but I think it was important. Was I was just talking to somebody recently, and they were telling me about. And again, I don't know all the. I might not be explaining this right, but left brain, right brain. One of them like wants all that information and the logic, and it has to understand it. But when we get out into the land, we have such a sensory overload that all we can be is present.
Wow.
So you stop thinking, you stop trying to understand, or stop trying to understand, or stop trying to know the logic behind it. You don't have to. You're so overloaded with the smells and the sights and the colors and the wind moving and just everything blowing and just the life, just everything, right? The sounds, and you're so in it that the only way for somebody to truly get this, everything that we're talking about, is not to sit here and to listen to a podcast or people talk about it. You have to get out into the land. Which is what I always tell people: get out into the land, get to a food forest, or I get people out to God's land.
Get it, guys. Turn this off. Go and do it.
That's it. Like,
press
you
pause.
have to. Right?
No, but yeah, I love it. And you just be.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, dude, I totally get
Instead
it.
of watching it, we're so enamored with looking and watching it and studying it.
Yeah.
When we can actually be it.
Totally, man.
And
that's a
not
great message.
woo-woo. That's like real.
That's
you know what I mean? You can
real.
actually go out and you are a part of the nature. You know what I mean?
So cool,
Yeah.
man. I love that. Yeah, I just went on this trip, to Lake Tahoe. Shout out NorCal. You're from there, right?
From Sacramento, man. 90
Heck
minutes
yeah.
from Lake Tahoe. It's a beautiful place.
Dude, so beautiful. And I was up in the mountains. I turned it on airplane, dude, for like 5 days.
Yeah.
And
Tell me about that.
Dude, amazing. Yeah, exactly what you're talking about, you know? Just totally like nervous system, recalibration.
Yeah.
It was amazing, man. But yeah, so, dude, this is an amazing conversation.
Yeah.
By the way, I want to have you back too.
Cool.
We should do this again later in the this season.
Yeah.
Cool,
We'll
man.
share some results. I mean, something else is just coming through for me that's really random is we are, it's not a formal contract, whatever we say, we've had all the discussions that need to be had for us to install a food forest in prisons in Florida.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Apparently
amazing.
there's 67 prisons. We already have a relationship with the corrections facility, if I'm saying that right. We just met them recently. They do fundraisers and sponsorship and everything like that. So we'll be the team that will go through.
That's amazing, dude.
Yeah, it's absolutely, it's incredible to have that type of contribution, that type of impact on people for sure.
Bro, that's amazing. Yeah, because people, a lot of the time people get sent to that system, the prison system, we like, and it's not very rehabilitating. Like it almost,
The opposite.
it's the opposite. It's like you leave, it's like it's like they feel like it's way deeper than just, like sending them there and doing their time back. Like these are people, man.
It made me think of, and this isn't to single out women, but I believe the facilities that we'll be working with is just guys. So that's why I'm referencing this. But as a masculine man, like we're here to protect and to serve. And when you take a man and you put him in a cell, the only thing they can develop is ego. Because they're just sitting with themselves and it's identification. Ego is just saying you're over there and I'm over here. There's nothing wrong with it, but that's the only state that they can live in, right? So you're depriving them. Yeah, exactly. Everything's separate from each other. You're over there, I'm over here. It's creating the very divide that is the death of life, right? Instead of seeing the harmony of us all being together, they're over there and I'm over here. But let's talk about a man that's here to provide and to serve. You're depriving them of the very opportunity to do so, which is to go out and to provide for people and to protect for people. So just by bringing in this small little thing, right? Call it a 10-yard by 10-yard square of a garden, right? They can now have a sense of I'm building something, I'm creating something, I'm protecting something, I'm serving something, right? So that alone can bleed through their entire life, right? But
Even in those walls,
right?
seeing the
Because they can think about
progress.
it. They can be in there thinking about the progress, and then they go out there the next day and it's like, ooh, new leaf. Like we all know that feeling, right? You can't not help but be like, oh, you know what I mean? It's growing.
I don't care who you are,
Right?
bro.
Until one day it grows so much you can't even keep track of it. But here's another thing. There was a study, shout out to Marcos for getting this study. I think it was like 2004 or something like that, was they did a study on inmates, prisoners. I don't even like using that term, but whatever. People in those situations that did some gardening. I think it was on site. And their responses. And basically, and I don't remember the words that it was said, but it's just this notion of like, shit doesn't happen in the garden. you protect the garden. Everything feels more at ease. You know what I mean? Like there's just this natural sense. You don't have to tell people to protect the garden. You just don't fuck around in the garden, right? Like you just don't do that. That's not where it happens, right? So there's just this sense that's natural. It's innate, right? That you don't have to teach. We don't need this knowledge of understanding. We are it already, right? And we're just revealing it. So these studies were just impactful of just showing like what something that simple can do. And the answer is always to go back to the land.
Yeah.
It's always.
Dude, totally. It's sacred, bro.
Yeah.
Dude, I love that. And by the way, the first time I was introduced to gardening was in an institution, bro.
Are you serious?
It was at like this boarding school, hardcore boarding school I got sent to, by the way, guys. And I went there and I graduated there. Yeah. And it was a blessing. It was really intense and hardcore, bro. It was up in New York, upstate New York.
Okay.
And the garden was my favorite thing ever. This guy, Jan, who was a real mentor of mine and a real awesome dude, like changed my life, man. Had spiritual experiences there, you know, like the first ever, like totally sober, totally, you know, just like up in the mountains, gardening with this dude, bro. And it changed my life, bro. That's amazing. Yeah. So it was just like one little piece that brought me to the land.
Yeah.
But amazing. I'm so grateful you guys are doing that, bro.
Yeah, it's a blessing, dude. It's humbling for sure,
bro. Because that's like ownership for them.
Yeah,
that's
a really good word. Ownership and responsibility. You know what I mean? Like, this is mine. I get to take care of it. Not like pride or mine, but like the pride of like, this is my team. I got my team.
Totally.
Yeah. Healthy pride.
That type of ownership. Bro. Yeah. So I just want to read like kind of what you sent me and just hear your take, if that's cool. And it kind of goes along what you were just mentioning about food forests and prisons, which is incredible. Prisons destroy, and we want to build life. You know, access is key to healing people, communities, and nature. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? Prisons destroy, and we want to build life.
Yeah, I mean, I think it came down to what I was saying about, and again, this is just my perspective, right? Is just the ego is separate, right? It's just creating separation, right? And then separation creates anxiety, right? And then we feel apart, and then we feel alone.
And we do that in society, bro.
Yeah.
Prisons are just like right?
Yeah.
It's a microcosm of that.
It truly is. Wow. It truly is. I always say the 5 like basic needs. We talk about food, shelter, water. Why am I forgetting the other one right now? Food, shelter, water, some form of energy. And a lot of people think like air conditioner unit or solar, like yes to those, but also firewood. You know what I mean? Like a form of energy, right? So food, shelter, water, energy, but community. Like we need a sense of common unity to stay sane. Right? We have to have that. And if we were isolated
sense of common, I'm sorry, I just have to repeat it for everyone.
Yeah.
A sense of common unity.
For sure.
To share, to stay sane.
Yeah, like if you think about it, when you're the one in a group that has the different perspective than everybody else, there's naturally a friction there, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, because sometimes it can be from a real state of clarity, or, you know, Noah building an ark. I feel like that often, right? But like, you just got to do it, right? But if you couldn't do that for 10 years. You would find yourself in a new environment, or the environment would change because you're affecting the environment, which to me is the great responsibility that we all have, is knowing that how you show up affects people around you, period. Right?
We are part of the equation.
Yes, you are. Your life, you matter. Like, you truly matter. Your subtraction makes the environment completely different, right? And I hope that everybody, and again, that's the opposite of ego.
And dude, that's a really important point, because even if we try to block everything out, still affecting people, bro. Still affecting our environment.
Everything nothing's unaffected by the observer. You know what I mean? And we've proven this through science, which is just a record of past, right? But we've proven it. You know what I mean? So what is it, the split test or something like that? Again, I'm not going to get into it, but we've proven that like thoughts are affecting things, right? So how you feel and how you think about people are affecting those people. So if we can take that great responsibility on and be like, yo, like how I'm showing up, my character is affecting people around me, we can now start to have, now you start to see the harmony, and it's less of the ego of you're over there. Like, yeah, ego is healthy because like you're over there and I'm over here, and we get to kind of interact and entangle with each other, right? But knowing that how I show up, and this is marriage, if I'm probably talking about marriage, right? Like how I'm showing up is affecting that person, right? No matter what. I can't just go isolate myself and think about that person and it's not going to affect them. It does. Otherwise, what is prayer? Right?
Totally.
Yeah. So prayer isn't just because you want it. Whatever you're thinking on, which prayer just means to give thanks, and giving thanks for something. Meditation is just getting familiar with something, right? So if you're thinking about somebody or about something, you're contributing to it. You're adding fuel to that fire.
Totally.
Yeah.
From your mind. Wow.
Yeah.
Guys, the garden is profound, man. Come on.
Get in the land.
Yeah, dude, you're really bringing it. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
This is it. Like, you come, you show up, you tell the people what's good. Like, now's the time, right? I was out there all morning putting together this food for us. Like, showered 3 times already today, bro. It's like noon.
How many shirts you been through?
Bro, it's insane.
Yeah.
But, like, what we're talking about, I'll do it all day long.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, it's cliche, but again, it's not work when you love what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like being tired from something. Again, there's like being tired from something is healthy, right? It's when you're going against the grain, the friction of going against what we feel like we shouldn't be doing. That's what's exhausting. That's a different thing. You know what I mean?
True. Yeah, that's a way different thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost a feel of like, you know, feeling uncontrollable, or like maybe hopelessness, you know?
Yeah.
But it's hard to feel like that in the garden, bro.
You can't.
can't.
It's non-existent. What do we say? We were talking about this with a bunch of the fellas who were together recently, and we were just talking about like when you're out there doing it, it's like you're not sick. Actually, there you go. There's no dis-ease in the land. You can't. You're just not there. Whatever your state is, you're fully there and you're fully present. You're working from there forward.
It's
you know
true.
what I mean? Yeah.
There's no dude, it's true. There's no disease. When it's really flowing, like there's times I get off, you know, the wagon end or whatever, and I'm like, oh man, I didn't sleep good, or I have been, whatever.
Yeah.
But when I'm flowing in nature, bro, you're right.
But isn't that only when you think about it? Isn't that only when the mind gets in, right?
It's true.
Which is a great tool. Mine's a great tool. I'm never going to discredit it because it's gotten me to where I'm at today. You know what I mean? But at the same time, when you're presently fully in something, it's only when you start thinking, this thing over there, right? And it's in the mind, right?
Totally.
Right?
Is.
But when you're back present, you're like, I'm shoveling. I'm doing it.
Right? We're so powerful, guys. I don't think you guys understand how powerful this is, man. Like it's so true, bro. Yeah. But but you're right. We heal ourselves. Like I had all these like stuff in my from working, and I was like, oh man, it's gonna get infected. I'm gonna have to go to a doctor and all that stuff. And I'm like, nah, like I'm gonna clean it right now, and I'm gonna get better, dude.
We've even
I got better, bro.
Yeah, what, your finger, dude? It's even we've been so conditioned of germs.
Yeah.
Like you tell me what's in a vacuum, right? I get that this is in a vacuum. What's more unnatural? For me to wash my hands after every single time I touch something, or for me to have some dirt on my hands?
Probably have some dirt on
it. Yeah, right. It probably makes it's a little more natural, right? So
it's probably hard to do like lab experiments and office work.
Yeah, right. Situationally, but
it's more natural.
Yeah.
Dude, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels good to be back here working on the land too. You know.
Yeah.
Even though I was out in the nature, I wasn't working on these projects. It's so fun.
Yeah, you got some work lined up? Some more food for us?
Yeah, the pipeline's filled, dude. We need help too, So if anybody wants, to come help us to install these things.
Yeah, tell them to reach out on both sides. It's all just, and we're all just buckets, all feeding the same mission.
So totally, bro. And I know we're on that same wavelength. Tell people where you're from, so if they can come help you. It's St. Cloud, right?
Yeah, hubbed in St. Cloud. I know we didn't talk about Galt's Landing. Galt's Landing is a 52-acre food forest, self-reliant, self-sustainable, regenerative farming community.
Wow. It's in St. Cloud?
Yes. Yeah, it's right. I live 5 minutes from it. So I got connected with Jim Gale. A lot of people probably know Jim online with permaculture, food forest abundance. He's definitely the head and the visionary of it, and become a brother of mine, very close brother. And Galt's Landing is a education and demonstration site for freedom, and we can quantify that and we can measure that. So when somebody comes into the land, and this is just one aspect of the land, we have Airbnbs where somebody can come in, stay at an Airbnb, and be completely provided for by the land. So between the wells, the solar panels, and the food that's growing on it, and of course again the community and the energy, right, you are completely living. It's not being off grid, it's on a grid that you're localized to. Right?
That's it.
Shouldn't even get into localization.
I love it. Yeah.
So they can come in real quick. They can come in and they can stay on that land and they get the real experience of what it's like. There's cows and chickens and everything. The real experience to live and be completely provided for their needs on the land. So now people can go, okay, I can see clarity how I can live this way.
Boom.
Different house, cool. Different layout, cool. Different materials, cool. Different plants, cool. Different animals, cool. But you can see the system at work. And you can walk around, you can look at it. We have a pond that captures all the gray water, and it's intentionally designed by Sam Igo for plants that go around it that cleanse the water. So all the gray water is landing into this pond, it's being cleansed, and now we can use it for irrigation into the rest of the land. That's a closed loop system. Waste is only a byproduct. It doesn't have a use. Now that this water has a use, there's no waste. The toilets, they go to a different bag, and then there's some process that you put into the bag, and there's an off gas from the decomposition process that's captured in a bag on top of the bag.
The methane.
And that's ran to the barbecue.
That's it, man.
So there's
Guys,
this closed loop system. There's no waste.
The compost is making the propane for their...
And then you're cooking with it.
Dude, so cool.
There's no waste.
There's no waste. It's a resource.
Yep.
All this stuff we're just flushing down the toilet and just what you guys are using it to your advantage. So cool.
Yep.
So are you guys, you have people staying there now, like in the Airbnb? Or
it's pretty common. We have one of them. One of them is one of the developers that's building. There's a living community. So there's a couple of lots that are a living community, and then there's there's the Airbnbs, short-term stay.
Got you.
And then in the middle is actually be a large healing center where there's going to be about 6 duplexes that'll be put in. The garages of the duplexes will get knocked out. We'll put some type of healing modality in there, whether it's yoga, Reiki, or massage or something like that. So people can, again, come in and stay on the land. There'll be a community center at the head, and there'll be a school. You actually made a comment about a school.
Yeah.
Our goal is to bring in a 25-kid schoolhouse where the first skill that they learn is self-reliance, meaning they know how to feed themselves. Once they know how to feed themselves, they can take food home to their family. They learn these skills. They can go home and grow all this on their own property.
So cool. You're gonna have a school on site.
Mm-hmm.
This is it. So people need to see the models. That's what I learned too.
Yeah.
And that's what you guys are building out there.
Yeah. Again, clarity models. Like, it has to be real. People have to actually be able to touch it and sense it. And again, stop thinking about it and actually be in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they come out there and they can actually be it, and then they can go apply it at their home.
I love it, man.
Mm-hmm.
I think about that sometimes too, the school aspect of it. Like, man, that's really where it's at. Like we need to create a school. I've always thought about that. And you guys are,
we installed a food forest in a school in, I think it was January or December as well. So we went in and did one in the front, one in the back, and it's thriving. It's doing really good. I think It took a little bit of heat. It took a little bit of a hit with the dry spell that we had a couple weeks ago. But overall, it's still there. It's doing good. The kids are involved. Again, there's just so much work to be done. Like, we should be back there volunteering and following up and seeing how it's going and contributing.
So amazing. I'm so grateful for this conversation, and I know we're gonna have many, many more.
Yep.
By the way, how's that mulberry tree doing?
Which one?
Yeah. I think I gave you a little dwarf mulberry.
A little tice, I think. I haven't put it in yet,
nice.
But it's growing well in the pot. But it's gonna go in soon.
Okay, yeah,
there was another phase here soon. So
cool, Cameron. It's so great to have you. I wish we had more time, but I know there'll be many more to come. Is there anything else you want to share with the people before we leave? Or any projects you're working on, messages, anything at all? It's been amazing to have you. Yeah.
Appreciate it. I guess just to wrap it up is I'm open to getting connected with anybody. We didn't even talk about land developers and just developing land in a different way. If people want to do this work, there's the opportunity to do this work, and now is the time to remove the poisons from the system and replace our lawns with food.
Guys, let's change our lawns to food. Cameron, amazing. Thank you for coming, man.
Thank you, brother.
Guys, we'll see you next time.
We're in the garden. It's existential.